Also, there's another special request. Someone would like to move that for the Mississauga. All those in favor? Carried. Item 112.
And I have two questions, if you wouldn't mind. Question number one. After reviewing the answers provided on February the 24th, 2011 to the GALA questions I asked on January the 19th, I'm submitting a series of follow-up questions for further clarification and detail, and I will give a copy of those to the clerk and to the city manager. And question number two, after enduring ongoing bullying and verbal abuse from another member of council, namely the mayor, to the point of being unable to effectively do my job as a member of council and be in public, I will be submitting a request to the Integrity Commissioner for an investigation under Rules 10, 11, 12, and 18 of the Code of Conduct. Thank you.
Also, there's another special request. Someone would like to move that for the Mississauga. All those in favor? Carried.
Can't see anything.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I wanted to follow up on the previous concerns from Councillor McFadden with regards to items she's read, but more importantly, the information that's come back from the staff with regards to the mayor's gala. And I understand more is to come back, but I just want to be clear on what is coming back and what action we're taking. That something that, to be very candid, just from the media council, looks dreadfully appalling and looks like a whole bunch of people feel cheated. And so I want some clarity around these issues when we come back, and I want to be very clear, and I wanted to say here at council that these are the list of concerns, and one specifically that relates to us as the board of directors of a corporation. But the first is I trust that donors are aware, we're aware that when you gave $1, only 6 or 7 cents went to the entity. And I'm starting to think that they're not because of how tax receipts were issued, but perhaps that'll come back. I wonder what rapprochement's been done with the charities when they now know, and I didn't know, I don't think a lot of people knew, that you had this grand fete for the city's elites, and at the end of the day, for every $1 that came in, 80 cents was consumed. The donors would have been better off giving them half as much directly. And some of the charities are saying exactly that. So I hope that comes back. I'm sure a lot of taxpayers feel cheated because if my math is correct, only from the accounts, some of the entities who wholeheartedly and graciously gave money would have gotten bigger business receipts and charity receipts than what the charities got in actual money. I just have a fundamental problem with that. But the more specific point that I have that relates solely to us and solely to me, I'll speak for myself as a member of this council, in effect the board of directors, my understanding is without question what we've done is illegal under the Revenue Act in Canada. I don't believe you're allowed to issue charitable receipts if you're not a charity. So and a direct question to the city manager, what I would like is some understanding around what we are doing about that. By that, what I mean is this. When you're in the business of collecting taxes and you're in the business of passing laws, you should respect laws and you should respect other levels of government's taxation policy. It appears as though we haven't. And before, and this is the fundamental point I'm making, before Revenue Canada comes knocking on our door and my door as a member of this board of directors, I hope we are reaching out to Revenue Canada and saying, here's how we've governed our affairs. If we've done something wrong, can someone please tell us? And how do we make this right? Because it's my understanding that Revenue Canada takes a wholly different approach with you when you're forthcoming and saying, perhaps we've made a mistake. I don't know. But only from the accounts and some of the questions that have been asked, we seem to have made a rather egregious mistake. And before they come knock on our door and pursue it, and I'm told CRA makes a habit of pursuing these things as well they should, I'd rather be proactive and conciliatory and say, if we've done something wrong on behalf of, speaking for myself as someone that sits on this board of directors, because we're ultimately accountable, I would hope that we are in the process of reconciling that. So, Mr. Chairman, that's a direct question to the city manager on that specific aspect of it. What are we doing relative to the concerns that have been raised that may infringe upon the role of the CRA?
Madam City Manager, if you'd like to respond.
I have not. I mean, again, I've not gone back and reviewed that because nobody has made a formal complaint to me. I have been reading comments in the paper. I've seen the material that's come back from the commissioner. I would reiterate again that the city simply provided a service to the gala. We were not decision makers with respect to the format and content of the event, the hiring of the services or the entertainment with respect to the gala. If council wishes me to go back and review that matter, I certainly can do that. But as of now, I have received no formal complaint, and so as a
I found
consequence,
freedom of
I've not
information
followed up.
a couple of days
Mr.
ago.
Chairman, I don't want to raise it as a complaint. I want to be I have a host of concerns. I spoke, but that's not what, I'm asking a very specific question as it relates to what we did, as I understand it, in the issuance of receipts for charitable purposes when we had no right to do that, as I understand it, and how that might run afoul of what the CRA expects of us. If I should have no concerns in that regard, I haven't.
Well, I have not reviewed it, so if council wishes me to review that matter, I can certainly do that.
Thank you, and that's and maybe to report back to us and say we've done nothing wrong relative to CRA. Great. But if we have, and yes, and we're doing what is appropriate under the circumstances to make sure that we're not in their bad books, so to speak, because I don't want to, as I say, I don't want to be in the business of passing laws for a living and collecting taxes, then breaking the country's laws. Because we're the board of directors, and it's our corporation that issued receipts. I'm only asking on that one point. I want to be very, very clear, because that is a great concern to me, and I'm sure of taxpayers in Canada. So if the city manager could come back and just clarify that point and do whatever needs to be done in a remedial way, I don't think, just in terms of the integrity of the office of this corporation, we don't want to be seen as being afoul of Revenue Canada's laws. So yeah, I would appreciate that specific point coming back. Thank you.
That is correct.
Please, thank you.
Don't crash the ambulance. Whoa, listen, I'm handing over to you. Don't crash the ambulance. Whatever you do.
Councillor Aiken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I wanted to follow up on the previous concerns from Councillor McFadden with regards to items she's very more important than the information that's come back from the staff with regards to the mayor's gala. And I understand more is to come back, but I just want to be clear on what is coming back and what action we're taking. That something that, to be very candid, just from the media council, looks dreadfully appalling and looks like a whole bunch of people feel cheated. And so I want some clarity around these issues when we come back, and I want to be very clear, and I want to say to your council that these are the list of concerns, and one specifically that relates to us as the board of directors of a corporation. But the first is I trust the donors are aware, we're aware that when you gave $1, only 6 or 7 cents went to the entity. And I'm starting to think that they're not because of how tax receipts were issued, but perhaps that'll come back. I wonder what rapprochement's been done with the charities when they now know, and I didn't know, I don't think a lot of people knew, that you had this grand fete for the city's elites, and at the end of the day, for every $1 that came in, 80 cents was consumed.
Thank you.
Now in its 25th year, raised millions of dollars to support the arts, culture, and heritage in the community.
Because saying it makes it so.
Best performers.
Don't crash the ambulance. Whatever you do.